everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today we are going to be doing the, mid-year book freakout tag. It's the last Friday of June. I thought this is a very great way to mark the mid-year point and sort of look at what I've been reading so far and also look ahead on like new things to come, you could say. There are, 13 questions in this tag. So I'm just going to be answering them. And I have to say that I'm pretty happy with where my Goodreads goal stands at the moment. I believe I've read 26 books by now, and I'm actually ahead of my 50 book goal, so that would be great. But I have to say that I have been reading a lot of short books, and so I'm trying to remedy that this month by reading bigger books. So fewer books, but bigger books to also get the page count up. That's sort of the strategy at the moment. So let's start with question number one. Question number one is best book you've read so far in 2020. And I didn't really have a good look at the questions before I started filming this video to make my responses as spontaneous as possible. But the first book I had to think of as one of my favorite reads so far all year is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I have a handful of 5-star reads that I've done so far in 2020, and this is the one that instantly popped into my head because this was just a very enjoyable sci-fi story that I thought was very cleverly written. And even though I thought the ending was a little bit convenient at the end, I still gave it 5 stars because I did think it was a good resolution to the story, as a whole. And that's why I gave this 5 stars. I believe I read this in like a day. It was so good, I couldn't put it down. So question number 2 then. Question number 2 is best sequel you've read so far in 2020. And I have to say that I haven't been reading a lot of series yet. I've read books in series, but they were like 5th or 6th or like further down the line books. So I'm not sure if it would count. So the only true like sequel, as in second book in a series, I read is Beastly Bones by William Ritter. This is part 2 of the Jacoby series. And I started this series at the end of 2019 and then I continued on. And by now I read all 4 of these books. And I think Beastly Bones was also one of the fun ones. I think Ghostly Echoes is my favorite one in this series, which is the 3rd book. But this was good too. So in this story, without giving away too much, we meet a girl called Abigail Rook, and she arrives in this New England town in the 19th century. She needs a place to stay. She needs a job. She meets this mysterious detective called Jacoby, who deals with everything paranormal and weird. And together, they embark on adventures. This features a dragon. It's great. Question number 3, and that is new release you haven't read yet, but want to. You guys, I am itching to read this so much, but I had not yet read the ACOTAR series. So I decided to pick that up first and sort of savor this. This is apparently, so this is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. And I really liked her Throne of Glass series, but I was unsure of ACOTAR because it was very romance heavy, I'd heard. And I'm not a fan of romance. So that's why I was like, I'm not sure that's going to be my cup of tea. So I held it off and I held it off. And I wasn't sure whether this was some sort of like spin-off. So that's why I was like, I'll first read the other series before jumping into this, even though this is supposed to be urban fantasy. And I love urban fantasy. So this sounds like it's totally up my street. I have no clue what it's about, apart from a murder that happens, something with demons, there are fae involved, I heard, and then the killer strikes again. It just sounds like something I would enjoy. It is a hefty one though. This is, let me see, ooh, 97. It's got almost 800 pages. Like, it's just shy 1 page of 800 pages. And it's the first book in this trilogy, I believe. It's massive. Question number 5 is biggest disappointment. Biggest disappointment. Was there anything that was super like, no, I didn't like it? I think I do, but here's the thing. I always remember the things that I like to read, and then the things I didn't, I don't. I'm having a good reading year, you guys, because I haven't rated a single book under 3 stars. Okay, so I think what would be most disappointing of everything is The Third Man by Graham Greene. The reason why I was disappointed in it wasn't because it was so short. I was like, oh, I might as well pick this up. I'd heard great things about Graham Greene's writing, but what I wasn't aware of when I bought this, and this has been sitting on my shelf for years, is that this is actually sort of like the story he wrote to write the script. So it's not a very insightful book, and it was very difficult to get through because of it, because it doesn't have enough description going on for it to really come alive. You can tell that this is just a bunch of dialogue without real character development to it, and that's why I felt very disappointed about this in the end, because I feel that I still haven't gotten a sense of what his writing is actually about, because this is so sort of like surface level, if that makes sense. The next question number 6, is the biggest surprise. So again, I need to go to Goodreads, because these are the things I never really remember. So my biggest surprise was definitely this, Sally Rooney, Normal People, and it's probably because I had no clue what to expect of this. I just heard that it had very mixed reviews, but it also won a ton of prizes, so I wanted to try it. I think this was the book that was like sold the most in all of 2018 when this came out, I believe. So yeah, this is definitely a book that I'm like, okay, everybody's been reading it apparently, so I'm missing out. Maybe I should read it. And the first half of the book, I was like, yeah, I get the critique. I didn't like it at all. I was like, oh, whatever. But here's why sometimes soldiering on with a book that doesn't grasp you immediately can pay off, because the second half of this book I wouldn't call it amazing, but it makes you think. And I like, especially for something like this, which is marketed as literary fiction, like sometimes I like books to have that little nudge, that seed that it plants, that days later you're still thinking about it. And that's what this book did for me. I mean, it gets dark, it gets pretty gruesome, it has a huge trigger warning for things like abuse and depression and mental health issues and things like that. So this is not a pretty book, it's not a great book, it's not amazing, it's not a page turner like Blake Crouch, but this is one of those books that gets under your skin. And that's why I appreciate it so much, and that's why it was a huge surprise to me. Question number 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you? Ooh. Again, I need to go into Goodreads and see what I actually read. So for this question, I would pick the Daisy Jones and the Six, which is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is definitely an author who I've discovered this year. I hadn't read anything by her yet, and so many people were raving about her books. So I picked this up going like, okay, everybody seems to like it, I might as well try it. Again, I read like 50 pages at first, and then I just sat down and I breezed through it in a day. Absolutely adored it. I like how this represents rock culture and like all the things going on in this like 70s rock band, and I really liked it. So I liked it so much that I actually immediately bought another book by her called The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, because that's another much raved about book, and apparently it's also this interview style. So I'm hoping it's not like her gimmick that is just sort of like going to feel like the same book but with different characters. That's what I'm afraid of. So I'm holding off on reading that for now. But yeah, this is definitely an author I've discovered this year. Question number 8, newest fictional crush. I already mentioned I didn't like romance, right? Maybe Lucian from the ACOTAR series. I liked him. And I do have to say I had a bit of a soft spot for James in Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I definitely did. But to be fair, I haven't had a crush on a book character since Edward Cullen. So that was at least a decade ago. So no, I don't have a new crush. Number 9, newest favorite character. Now here's the issue. If I look at my Goodreads sort of reading list and what I've been reading, I have been reading a lot of books in series that I like, that I already knew I was gonna like. So That's probably why I've had such a great reading experience as well. So, you know, I could tell you that I really like the characters in those books, but they're not new characters to me. And, you know what I mean? Because I already sort of knew what to expect from the characters in these books. And the only thing that I can tell you, but I can't, like, I can put a picture up, but I have been listening to a couple of the, what's it called? Gower Street detective series by MRC Carsassian. And I do have to say, I like Sidney Grice a lot as a character. He is like this other version of Sherlock Holmes, you could almost say. Like, he has the same sort of characteristics almost. So I quite like him as a character, but I have to say that in the end, the series dragged on too much and the books felt very long-winded. So I haven't listened to the last one yet because of that. I don't have a favorite new character. I'm sorry. I don't. Number 10, a book that made you cry. I don't cry that easily over books. It needs to be pretty dire for that to happen. Or shocking or something like that. And again, I don't think I've read anything that really gave me that direction. Again, if I'm scrolling through it, no. I've been reading a lot within my like comfort zone, things I know I'll like, and so nothing has been too shocking. And you know, I don't read a lot of like contemporary, very emotional stories because it's just not really my thing. So no, there's not a single book that made me cry. 11, a book that made you happy. Well, books always make me happy, and I read to feel happy. So like that escapism, that's why I read. So is there a book that really made me happy? There is a book that made me happy, and that is one of those comfort reads, False Value, which is the I don't know how many installment of the Peter Gran series by Ben Aronovich. I really love this series. This is one of my all-time favorites, and nobody on BookTube is ever talking about it. This book just put a smile on my face from start to finish. It takes place, if you don't know what the series is about, Peter Grant in the first book has just graduated police college in London, and then on his first job he pretty much discovers he can do magic, and then he needs to learn magic, and then there's a special part of the London Police Department that has him investigate all these weird cases. And this book, what I liked about it so much is that he's working undercover at a tech company in this one, and it's this like hip, happy, like ooh, like tech company, like Silicon Valley-esque, but then in London. And then, you know, it's got something to do with Babbage and like the first computers ever made. So there's a bit of history to it, but then also lots of geek culture and lots of references to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This book made me happy. This book definitely made me happy. Oh, and you know what also made me happy? Not only does the cover glow in the dark, who needs a glow in the dark book? But when I got this book, because I ordered this from the book depository, and it was signed. So that was fun because I didn't know I had bought a signed copy. Question number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. Ooh, most beautiful book. I can only think of one book really, and it's the last book I finished when I'm filming this video, and it's The Deathless Girls by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. I'm going to be keeping this around because it has a stunning cover. The story itself, I wasn't feeling it. If you saw my reading vlog last week, I'm reading this book in one sitting in that vlog. So if you would like to see all of my opinions, I can link that video in the eye above if you want to see the full lowdown. But I felt that, you know, what this story is marketed as is an origin story of the Brides of Dracula. And it definitely is. I had just expected more Brides of Dracula. So I'm going to keep it very short and sweet. Lovely cover. The inside, I had other expectations going into it. Let me tell you that. But look at that. Can we just have a moment? How stunning. I'm not sure if you can see the foiling on this. Oh, there you go. You see that foiling? Oh, stunning book. All right, so the final question is, which books do you still need to read this year? And I did give myself a bit of a list to read during 2020. First up was the Jacoby series. Tick, read all 4 of them. Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Thorns and Roses, the entire series. I read the first one, currently reading the second one, and I think maybe, like, if I like this enough, I will continue on and read the third one next month, so I think I can tick that off. Mary E. Pearson, The Kiss of Deception, read that one as well. Saba Tahir, An Ember in the Ashes, and then the entire trilogy. That one is still on my shelves, haven't gotten around to it yet. Robin Hobbs, Assassin's Apprentice, that's one that is still sitting on my shelves, unread. Blake Crouch, Dark Matter, that was the first book I mentioned in today's video, so that was one I was very happy I finally got around to. And then I said Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, and this is a book I am saving for when we have bad weather over the fall time, because I think it's going to be like a perfect, like, rainy fall day, like, kind of read. So I'm sort of saving it for when the days start to turn darker, for sure. And then I put a classic on here as well, which is Anne Bronte's The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. And that's definitely one I would like to get around to. Again, I think it's maybe a summertime thing for me. I like to read classics in the summertime because they can take a bit more time. And A.M. Holmes' This Book Will Save Your Life. This is one of my all-time favorite books, but I haven't read it in a decade. So that's why I felt I had to reread it. So again, I think that would be a nice one for the summertime to give it a bit of a reread. So yeah, I think I've read William Ritter, In the Midst of Sarah J. Maas, Mary E. Pearson, and Blake Crouch. So I've read 4 out of the 10 selections that I picked, and one of those 10 picks is a reread. So I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty good on track, like almost 50-50. So yeah, I think I'm doing a pretty good job there. I definitely already have a couple of other books that I think I may want to read. Hold on. So one of those books that I hope to get to is this big guy. This is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is a 1,000-page book, but I like to read, just like I said, like I like to, during summer break when I have 5 weeks of nothing, and of course this year with Corona, no traveling, I can't go anywhere. Like last year I took a day trip to Paris, which that's not gonna happen anytime soon. So I'm gonna be stuck at home reading books all summer, which, you know, to me that's not a punishment. I like that kind of thing. So it could be a good time to really sort of sink my teeth into a more hefty tome and read a 1,000-page book. So I've set this is my goal for the summertime, to read this during summer break. Who knows if we'll get around to it. So I would like to add this one to the list. Let's see if I get around to it. So those were all 13 questions in this tag. Let me know in a comment down below if you think I'm doing a good job. Who knows? And then I would like to thank you very much for watching today's video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 1 new video a week on this channel, but I make 3 videos a week over on my beauty channel, which is linked in the description box below. So definitely go check that out if you'd like to see more by me. If not, then I will hope to see you again in my next video on this channel, which will be live next Friday. See you then. Bye.